Hey now Deadheads, we are back again with a couple surprise new releases. I'm not sharing Dick's Picks Volume 4 quite yet, that new Real Gone release, but instead I've got two new releases that kind of took me by surprise. We had a little bit of a teaser about a month ago when Bull Moose accidentally posted the product listing on their website, but didn't know if it was real when they listed that, and then it became real when Amazon shared that they had the exclusive for two Road Trips releases from the Grateful Dead. Two vinyl pressings for the first time ever on vinyl of a couple late aughts, early 20-teens series, the Road Trip series, which came after Dick's Picks, before Dave's Picks series. Was really surprised to get this on vinyl, and here it is. So I'm really excited to share with you what's inside these boxes and the strange circumstances of how they landed in my living room and in many other folks' living rooms as well. And before I get to the unboxing, I do want to kind of share that story. It showed up about a week ago, maybe about a week and a half ago, as a Amazon Prime Music exclusive. And I don't know how many of you folks are subscribers to Amazon Prime Music. I wasn't, but when I saw that this exclusive popped up, I made a 90-day trial subscription to Amazon Prime Music. Bought these, got a 20% discount as part of the Prime Day promotion. You can only buy this through the Amazon Prime Music app or web experience. You can't just go to Amazon.com, type in Grateful Dead Road Trips vinyl and purchase these. And so it's a convoluted purchase experience. Still is. They haven't changed that as part of that Amazon exclusivity. And then a few folks, like I said, Bull Moose listed this early on their website. I don't think they're going to be getting this in stock at all because of the Prime exclusivity. So a strange release, and like I said, the first releases that we've gotten from the Road Trip series on vinyl. I'm curious to see if we're going to keep getting these, especially after unboxing these, giving these a listen. But let me show you what's inside these boxes first, and then I'll tell you what I think about them. Starting things off with Austin 11-15-71, and this is Road Trips Volume 3, Number 2. I always found that numbering convention a bit confusing, but so it is. Opening things up, we can see the liner notes. Pretty robust liner note. I believe this is a faithful reproduction of the original liner notes that Blair Jackson wrote when this release first came out back in, I believe it was 2010. Really nice essay from him covering the Dead and their trips to Texas. They didn't start tripping to Texas until 1969. And then you can see the records. And as you can see, I put these in MoFi style inner sleeves. They did not come this way. They came in some of those black polyline sleeves that I'm not quite a fan of. If you've seen a few of my videos, you know that I'm not a fan of those. But I had to give these a wash, and I'll tell you why in a second. And as you can see, there's a pretty big scratch across side one of this release, which I'm not too pleased about. And then finally in the back, all the way hidden beneath those black polyline inner sleeves, I saved the hype sticker, and just Grateful Dead 60 hype sticker. Not a lot more information on this sticker. Finally on the back, you can see the track listing, and you can see it's a limited edition of 3,000, just like the Denver release. And that is Austin, 1971. Some really good 1971 Dead. Great to have this on vinyl. The sides that are in good shape sound really good. In particular, a standout for me is the Dark Star El Paso back into Dark Star. And you do have to flip the record to get to side 4 and the end of that Dark Star, but it's worth it. It's just a Texas show. You got to have El Paso when you're in Texas. That or Mexicali Blues. We get that later on side 5, but Dark Star, El Paso, Dark Star, which I know is a fan favorite, especially in the Dead and Company era. Early one on this release, and it sure is something special. Before we get into thoughts on the full 2-release package, I want to share what's inside the Denver release, 1973 in Denver. And this is a massive 7 LP package. Quite a lot of music to get through, but let me show you what's inside first. As you can see, the cover of this is gorgeous. They did a fantastic job with the printing. And when we open things up, Again, liner notes, a few pages from Blair Jackson. And this release was recorded by Kid Candelario, so slightly different from the first release, which was recorded by Rex Jackson. Again, you can see the records inside these MoFi style inner sleeves. I saved those black polyline inner sleeves, but after cleaning these records, I decided to keep them in some nicer inner sleeves. And these records needed it as well. And here you can see on the 14th side, there's this pretty cool etching of that cowboy and moon motif that you saw on the front cover. And then here finally on the back, you can see, again, limited edition of 3000 with the track listing, the 2 dates that are represented here on this live recording. So collectively, across these 2 box sets, really, really good music, with a few caveats that I have to kind of warn everyone about. These sound really fantastic. They sound really crisp and clean for the most part. This is not a new transfer from the original tapes. There's some confusion whether it's just the CD master pressed or if there's new mastering here. But the real shortcoming in these releases is the fact that they're pressed by Memphis Record Pressing. And for those who remember the Dave's Picks, the infamous Dave's Picks 23, I was not a fan of. There were some quality issues there that Grateful Dead Productions really, they went out of their way to make it right with the customers. They sent out replacements when needed, but I think all around there was some frustration with Memphis Record Pressing, and that's where these releases were pressed as well. And you can tell there are some quality issues. There are some visual scuffing across, I would say, most of the sides of both record box sets that I received. I don't always clean records, especially brand new records, when I first get them in the mail, before playing them for the first time. But I did for these, just to see if that visual scuffing was going to affect the sound quality. And for the most part, it didn't. I would rather them look clean, but they don't. C'est la vie, that's life. But side 1 of the Austin release actually had that visual scratch through it, as you could see during the unboxing segment. And so that was unacceptable, I think. That was, for me, that merited getting a replacement from Amazon. I've got the box. It just came in the mail actually earlier today with a replacement, which is a real shame. These are limited edition to 3000, and one of those, at least one of those that I know of, will either get, sent and thrown in the trash by Amazon, or maybe they'll resell it. I hope they resell it, as someone who doesn't want to create that much trash in the world. But the fact that they've lost one of those 3000 copies, and I'm sure many others are going to return their copies to Amazon due to quality issues. It's a real shame, and I think this might become a bit of a rare release just because it is a smaller pressing and a lower quality pressing, where folks are going to be sending things back to Amazon, seeking replacements, seeking Amazon to make things right. And so it's a real shame. I think we've been a bit spoiled lately. Grateful Dead Productions has really stepped up their game with their vinyl releases. We've gotten really, really good releases, high quality, quiet releases, free of visual imperfections. We look at the recent Music Never Stopped box set, and I was singing the praises of that. I thought that was a fantastic release, not just in the quality of the music, but the quality of the audio. That vinyl box set, they really knocked it out of the park with that one. And then we see through some of their release partners, we see through Real Gone, and Real Gone does a great high quality pressing with Gotta Groove Records, that pressing plant, and that sounds fantastic. I think that's probably the high watermark of the best, highest quality vinyl releases in the Grateful Dead universe. And so it's a real shame to see something that gets a little bit looked over, gets a little bit, gets the lower quality treatment, especially when the playing really took me by surprise. I've listened to all the Dick's picks, I've listened to all the Dave's picks. The Road Trip series is a little bit different for me because they're typically not full shows. It's usually more kind of compilations of better parts of different shows. That was more of the ethos of the road trip series, and these two are sort of exceptions to the rule, where we get a mostly full show and then some filler, or a full show and some filler. But the road trip series is not a series that I've dug as deep into, which is a real shame. I thought this would be an opportunity to kind of fill in that blind spot, but it's become difficult to. It's become hard to fill in that blind spot along the way. And so ultimately, would I recommend this release? I guess that's the big question. And I would say yes, despite the quality issues, despite some of the shortcomings in the pressing, some of the dings to Memphis record pressing, I would say the fact that you can replace damaged records fairly easily thanks to Amazon's fairly standardized customer service, give it a shot. If you get a beat up copy, if you get something that's not to your quality standards, I suppose you could send it back, get a replacement, which is a shame, chipping away at that limited edition of 3,000 as folks are searching for, an acceptable pressing of this. But I would say give it a shot. They're two fantastic releases. 1973 to me is some of my favorite Grateful Dead, and so Denver, I was in a rush that I put that on as soon as it came in the mail. 1971 is a little bit more of a blind spot to me. It's hit or miss to me, but this is definitely a hit in the world of 1971 Dead. That Dark Star El Paso Dark Star really does stand out to me. But the recording as well is mostly good. I forgot to mention on this Denver release, I didn't call out any favorites, but the playing of the band, El Paso playing of the band was fantastic here. Some of the filler, the 11, 20, 73 trucking into the other one. They crank up Phil at the beginning of that other one, and it's a subtle Phil bomb, but it's a pretty heavy Phil bomb at the beginning of that other one. But some of the tracks, the Broke Down Palace at the end of side 4 of this, there's a little bit of a hiss, and a few other tracks have a little bit of a hiss, and that's more recording quality. If you check it out on the CD or on streaming, you're going to have a little bit of that hiss or hum as well. But they did a really good job of faithfully pressing that onto vinyl, and so it's a very clear hiss or hum thanks to a pretty good pressing against all odds. So maybe that's the theme here. Against all odds, these two are really good releases. I would recommend these against all odds. Even though we are not suffering, where there's no shortage of great Grateful Dead on vinyl these days, I would say against all odds, give the Road Trips releases a shot. And I would say I hope that they continue to release more Road Trips releases on vinyl. Maybe we'll get some more for future Record Store Days or Record Store Day Black Fridays in the future, because they really are filling a blind spot. I'm getting a lot more Dick's picks on vinyl. I would like to see more Dave's picks on vinyl, but seeing the Road Trip series on vinyl is a welcome addition to my collection. And so that's it for today. I mentioned Dick's Picks Volume 4 has, it's been sitting next to my stereo for a few weeks now. It's been getting a lot of playtime. I owe you an update and kind of my unboxing and my thoughts on that release, so that should be coming soon. In addition to some other stuff coming in soon from the Grateful Dead. I know there are a few Jerry Garcia Band releases from the Warfield coming up. First one in August, and then 2 more coming in later this year. Really excited about that. The samplers that they've put out, those sample tracks that they've put out, sound fantastic. Those samplers are available for free to stream on the Garcia Family Provisions website, and so check those out as well. And so hopefully I'll be sharing that unboxing soon, within the next maybe month or so. And then of course Grateful Dead 60 at Golden Gate Park. I won't be going to San Francisco. I haven't heard anything about a live stream, a NUG stream on that, but I'm hoping that there's a NUG stream. I'll stay up late here on the East Coast to give those a listen, because it's Grateful Dead 60. It's back in their home turf in San Francisco. And it's outdoor Grateful Dead. We haven't had very much outdoor Grateful Dead in the past 2 years. So we'll be really interested to hear that playing as well. And thank you so much for joining me today. I'm curious if you got these releases, if you picked up either of these two or both of these two Road Trips releases, what your thoughts are, what your experience was with the quality of the pressing. Let me know down in the notes below if you had a great experience, if you had a terrible experience. I'm curious how everyone else is experiencing this release. But that's it today. Thanks so much for joining me. Peace.